Calaroga Shark Media.
Oh man, am I psyched. Hi, I'm Johnny Mac with your Daily Comedy News. Why are you psyched, Johnny Mac? Because Trevor Noah got it done. I was texting with my son. I'm like, I hope Trevor Noah does a tight monologue and it's done and I can record the show during halftime. And Trevor wrapped it up with 12 seconds in the first half as the Knicks played the Lakers. So hi from halftime as I'm recording. Trevor Noah just took the stage at the Grammys. I love Trevor. I just think he's a really good host, very comfortable. You can trust him with a show. Nothing amazing out of his monologue, but it was fun and upbeat. And, you know, he's setting the stage for a party. He did go a long way for this first joke.
Uppata is actually inspired by a Korean drinking game, right? Where you stack your hands on top of each other. Someone shouts a number, you count up, and then if your hand hits that number, you drink. Yeah, that's way more complicated than the drinking game we have in America. In America, every time you turn on the news, you drink. Uppata, uppata.
So you may be wondering, all right, is Trevor going to get pointed at all? A little bit here with this one.
Oh, and the one and only Ms. Lauryn Hill will be performing on that stage tonight, which is insane when you think about it, because the last time Lauryn Hill performed at the Grammys was in 1999. Understand that? You understand how long ago that was? Back in 1999, the president had a sex scandal. People thought computers were about to destroy the world, and Diddy was arrested. Boy, how times have changed.
And then really the closest thing to a political joke in the monologue was this one.
We got John Legend in the house. Oh man, every single person here, John Legend, Billie Eilish, Phineas, Nicki Minaj is not here. She is not here. She is still at the White House with Donald Trump discussing very important issues. Actually, Nicki, I have the biggest ass. I have it. Everybody's saying it, Nicki. I know they say it's you, but it's me. Wop, wop, wop. Look at it. Look at it, baby.
The Grammy for Best Comedy Album went to Nate Brargatze for Your Friend Nate Brargatze. I didn't think that was Nate's best special at all, but okay, fine. He beat out Bill Burr's Drop Dead Years, Sarah Silverman's Postmortem, Ali Wong's Single Lady, and Jamie Foxx's What Had Happened Was. Jamie, who, as longtime listeners know, I used to work with, he's sitting pretty close up stage wearing a very big hat, like a hat that's saying, hey, look at me, and sunglasses. And I wonder if that particular look is perhaps, possibly, maybe somehow related to the stroke. I just found it an odd fashion decision. Anyway, I hope he's doing well. For today's show, I'm flipping the order a little bit because I recorded the second half earlier. So usually I do the newsy news in the first half and some of the more esoteric stuff in the second half. So that's kind of flipped today just to accommodate the production. Remember I told you, I think it was in yesterday's show, about the comedian Ben Bankus, the guy who had made jerky jokes about Renee Good. Bankus addressed the canceled shows in a video he shared on his Instagram on the 29th. In the clip, he tells an audience, I just found out my shows were canceled in Minnesota. F him. He said he was working on a new venue and dates for the fine people of Minnesota. The owner of the club who had canceled the shows told the Tribune that CAA, who represents Ben Bankus, is insisting that the club fully compensate Bankus for the canceled shows due to the fact that he was willing to perform. Fair enough. The owner also says that CAA will not allow any of its other clients to perform at the club until the matter is fully resolved. That would surprise me if CAA is icing a club. And I did want to talk about the passing of Catherine O'Hara, who died Friday in Los Angeles at age 71. The Toronto native began at the Second City as an understudy to Gilda Radner. From Second City, the famous Canadian sketch show SCTV, where she did fantastic work, and if you're of a certain age like me, that's where she got on your radar. Later playing the mom in the Home Alone movies. Macaulay Culkin posted, Mama, I thought we had time. I wanted to sit in a chair next to you. I heard you, but I had so much more to say. I love you. I'll see you later. In the Home Alone films, the family rushes through Chicago's O'Hare Airport. The airport posted, thank you, Catherine O'Hara. Forever our legendary Mrs. McAllister. More recently, O'Hara was on Apple TV's The Studio. Seth Rogen wrote on Instagram, we're all lucky we got to live in a world with her. She was hysterical, kind, intuitive, generous. She made me want to make our show good enough to be worthy of her presence in it. Pedro Pascal, who shared the screen with her in The Last of Us, wrote, "There is less light in my world. This lucky world that had you will keep you always." Brooke Shields wrote, "What an honor it was to be spoofed by Catherine O'Hara on the old SCTV series." Mark Carney, Prime Minister of Canada, wrote, "Canada has lost a legend." Over 5 decades of work, Catherine earned her place in the canon of Canadian comedy from SCTV to Schitt's Creek. She was an ambassador for Canada in the truest sense, brilliant, fearless, deeply original, and so full of humanity. She made the world laugh, but she also made people feel seen. Mike Myers wrote, "It was a very sad day for comedy and for Canada. She was one of the greatest comedy artists in history, an inspiration for millions, and above all, a very elegant lady, sending much love and condolences to her family." Michael Keaton wrote, "We go back before the first Beetlejuice. She's been my pretend wife, my pretend nemesis, and my real-life true friend. This one hurts. Man, I'm going to miss her." Thinking about Bo as well. Journey Gunderson, executive director of the National Comedy Center, in a statement wrote, "Catherine O'Hara was one of the rare performers who could disappear completely into character and somehow make that character unforgettable. She shaped what comedy acting could be, blending precision, humanity, and originality in a way that felt effortless. Her work will continue to inspire generations of performers and audiences." So like I said, flipping the order around a little bit today, we'll take the break here and we'll come back and do more of a normal second half. Coming up at noon Eastern today, the results of Comedy Survivor Week 4. Looking forward to seeing who was voted off Comedy Island. Remember back on, I think it was Friday's show, maybe it was Thursday's show, I had reached out to Deacon Mike. I was curious about Stephen Colbert's use of faith leader. Stephen Colbert is a Catholic, I'm a Catholic, and growing up Catholic, I never really heard that term. Deacon Mike said his guess is that's a personal term from Colbert that would be all-encompassing to be more inclusive to all people of faith and, getting a vibe for how Stephen Colbert rolls when he's not ruining Star Trek. That makes sense. So I appreciate Deacon Mike for getting back to me. He did get back to me. I know in your world it's like 4 days later. He got back to me about 10 minutes after I finished recording the episode. But thank you, Deacon Mike. Got some items from Gossip Corner. I'm not going to play the song because the spirit of this show is not, quote-unquote, dancing on people's graves. I don't want people to be miserable. But in the news, Rob Schneider and his wife have announced that their marriage is coming to an end. 37-year-old Patricia has filed for divorce from her 62-year-old husband, Rob Schneider. The divorce summary is requesting the court keep the documents confidential. The couple has 2 daughters, aged 13 and 10. They first met in 2007 on a TV project. Rob Schneider was 44. Patricia was 19. They got married 4 years later. Staying on Gossip Corner, Radar Online has the headline, "Amy Schumer goes goopy over divorce. Lovelorn comic using Gwyneth Paltrow as an inspiration for her conscious uncoupling." A source told Radar Online, "Amy is obsessed with controlling the narrative, really with controlling everything. She seems convinced that if she and Chris can have this perfect divorce, it all won't hurt so much. That's why she wanted to get everything totally handled before making the news public. All the houses are getting sold, the money's divided up, and they've agreed on custody. There won't be any fights or drama, which is very important to Amy for her son's sake and for Chris. She's very focused on protecting them both." The source adds, "No doubt Amy's image is part of this too. She knows it's going to be picked apart, and she wants to give people as little ammunition as possible. As much as she claims not to care what people think, she actually does care a lot. Amy's telling people she wants to stay friends with Chris, and they're even going to get each other's advice on who to date, which strikes a lot of people as bizarre." I'm glad the source said that because I was about to editorialize there and just say, that's weird. The source continued, "She's also adamant that this has nothing to do with her suddenly getting skinny, but the timing of her weight loss does have a lot of people questioning if she's being fully transparent about that." Now, while I was prepping the show, actually, let me check this again. Hold on. Okay, I was going to tell you there was a dead link. For a day, there was a dead link under the headline, "Amy Schumer thought she'd be flooded with interest amid divorce news, but it hasn't happened." This on the nationalenquirer.com, but as I'm recording this on Friday, the link seems to have come back to life. An insider says Amy really thought she'd be flooded with interest, more dates, more tension, but it hasn't happened. Another source says she's not chasing anything. If a date happens, great. If not, she's totally fine being on her own. Maybe she could date Rob Schneider. I thought this was weird, a weird decision by The Daily Show. They used Whitney Cummings as a correspondent last week, and Whitney Cummings and The Daily Show just don't go together in my mind. If you spend a lot of time, especially on comedy threads, Whitney is not all that popular on social media. And without doing any research, I would guess Whitney Cummings is not that popular with many fans of The Daily Show. I just thought it was weird. Whitney Cummings took over the show's In My Opinion desk for commentary aimed at liberal voters and their tendency to demand perfection from Democratic presidential candidates. Whitney said, "I'm here to talk to you as a liberal and acknowledge sometimes her politics have been misread. Some people think I'm right-wing just because I look and sound exactly like Kimberly Guilfoyle, but I'm a liberal." She went on for 7 minutes, and the point of her thesis is if you keep holding out for Mr. Right, we're going to end up with Mr. Alt-Right. Pete Davidson was on The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon. He talked about being a dad. He said the reality has set in. We had a moment last week. We were like, oh, she's here. She's like staying. Now it's real. He also said about babies, they crap so much. They crap while they're crapping. The best advice I got, and I hate it's so name-dropping, but Eddie Murphy gave me great advice. The best advice is no advice. You can't tell another man how to raise his child. Jason Kelce and ESPN will not pursue a second city of They Call It Late Night with Jason Kelce. Remember Jason Kelce had a late night show that really nobody watched? When I saw the phrasing, Jason Kelce will not pursue a second season of They Call It Late Night, my line on Threads was, I've decided not to continue pursuing dating Sydney Sweeney. I have the same chance. Here's the spin. The decision came from Kelce, who wanted to explore other opportunities during the offseason rather than commit to another run of the show. Dude, they did 5 episodes last year. 5. ESPN is supportive of continuing the program. Last year, Jason Kelce hosted 5 episodes. The show aired on late Friday nights. The debut episode got 290,000 viewers. Even Seth Meyers is like, really? Dude, more people watch my show. At the time, the ESPN president told the New York Times that the network wasn't focused on ratings for the 5-episode experiment, and said that the decision about the show's future would be a little bit more art than science. But again, we're being told that Jason Kelce wants to explore other opportunities. Isn't that usually what you say when you get fired from a job? They're like, so-and-so has left the job to pursue other opportunities. Isn't that what you usually say? I'm calling hogwash there, Jason Kelce. And that is your comedy news for today, right? At noon Eastern, Comedy Survivor and normal episode in the morning. I'll see you then.